Thank you so much. The sign of Christmas is a star. And I'm lighting a candle to signify that that star shines bright in the hearts of all those who follow the Jewish tradition, who follow the Muslim tradition, or the Hindu, or the Buddhist traditions, or any other traditions that speak to the divinity within each of us. For that is at the core of every religion, of every faith, and of every spiritual path. That you are divine, that you are the child of the Most High, and that you can bring it into manifestation by practicing certain spiritual principles in your life. That's unity. We've got it all into one perfect path. And I say it's perfect because it's always changing. I say it's perfect because there's no dogma, there's no creed, and there's no doctrine that you have to follow. What are we following? Our own inner guidance. We're following our heart. This is truly a spiritual path of the heart. So I'm going to light these other two candles. One for the mind and one for the heart. And I want us to remember that we can be very intelligent and we can know a lot of concepts about God and about spirituality. And all of that can be very clear in our minds. But if we're not bringing it down into an expression through our heart of love into the world, then I feel something vital is missing. That we'll always be seeing spirituality, we'll always be seeing religious experience from a conceptual, observational point of view, and not an experience, not an experiential point of view. That's the most important part to me. So the sign of Christmas is a star, and it's a light in the darkness. See it not outside of yourself, but shining in the heaven within. And accept it as the time of Christ has come. It has come. It's here now. This Christmas, I invite you all to give the Holy Spirit everything that would hurt you. Let yourself be healed completely, that you may join with Him in healing. And let us celebrate our release together by releasing everyone with us. This Christmas, you can be the shining star of God's love in this world. Let no despair darken the joy of Christmas, for the time of Christ is now. And it is also meaningless apart from your joy, from your happiness. If it's always going to come in the future, what good is that? If it's not here now, how can I access it? How can I manifest it? How can I be that? If I'm waiting for it in the future, it's never going to come. It has to be here now. It has to be here in divine potential, simply awaiting my acceptance of it. So let us join together today in celebrating peace. We're going to celebrate peace by demanding no sacrifice of anyone. For if you do, then if you celebrate peace and demand nothing of anyone, you are offering me the love that I offer you. This is Jesus' words from A Course in Miracles. You are offering me the love that I offer you. Such is the message of the time of Christ, which I give to you, that you may give it and return it to our Father, Mother, God, who gave it to me on behalf of everyone. For the time of Christ, in the time of Christ, communication is restored, and the Spirit joins us in the celebration of the birth of all the children of the divine. We have come to remember that we are born blessed. And we all possess the light and the power and the potential as did our way shower, Jesus. We all possess that light, that power, and that potential. It's in us now. It's not something we're going to go and attain. It's not something that we learn. We discover that it's already there. It's a discovery and a revealing of something that's already in us. And that's quite different than thinking, I'm going to go out and dig it up like a treasure. I'm going to learn how to use this conceptual knowledge to attain Christ consciousness. It's not really like that. I discover the Christ consciousness within me by uncovering everything else, by discarding everything else that does not serve me, and allowing that pure Christ mind that already exists in me to take over. It's amazing. It's a constant adventure of miracle after miracle after miracle. And one of the greatest miracles is to remember that we are born blessed. We need to play that video. I have a video from Unity. And it's called Born Blessed. And I think it's one of the biggest shifts of consciousness to think that instead of being, the Catholic religion, I'm sorry, my friends and neighbors who are Catholic, but I was taught we were born in sin. I was taught that we had to atone for our sins. I was taught that everybody was born separate from God, born in original sin. That's a crazy idea. In Unity, we correct that idea by remembering we were born innocent. We were born in innocence, and we were born blessed. So let's watch this video together. Charlie's running back and forth. Here we go.
Like Jesus, we are born blessed. Regardless of race, sexual orientation, or anything you can possibly think of, each of us is born blessed. Equality, human rights, dignity, and the principle of never-ending growth towards the fulfillment of love's perfect idea are firmly fixed in all creation. And it is safe to stand with this truth. It is safe to bring it into our world in unapologetic ways. From the beginning, humanity has been searching for enlightenment, for spiritual perfection, for understanding of its relationship to the divine. Many cultures and religions have traditions that describe this relationship in terms of divine presence, or a spark of the divine within humanity. The essence of the Christmas narrative is incarnation, the very idea that God has come into the world in the form of a human being known to the world as Jesus Christ. This divine incarnation reminds us that, ultimately, our human nature is inherently divine. It reminds us that each of us has the potential of experiencing the mystery, the wonder, and the love of God by turning within. With this knowing, the quest to experience the divine becomes a quest of turning to the voice of truth, always living, moving, having its very being in, through, and as us.
In us, through us, and as us. The divine. God incarnate in human form. Isn't that amazing? If God is incarnate in human form, and you happen to be in human form, then who are you? The only thing now is to stop pretending that I'm something else. And since my mind, my conscious human mind cannot accept the idea of God, the omnipotent, being me, because I've felt like I am something separate from that, and I've identified myself as this little thing and God as this big thing, I'm going to have to learn a new way of understanding, of thinking, of following the truth. And it has to be something leading me that's beyond the concepts in which I've been holding myself. Because I've been holding myself in an idea that's too small. It's not big enough to include the whole universe and to include God. And that's why we come together and do this. That's why we take all of our classes and workshops, and we continually seek out the truth and an experience of that truth, because it opens us up to who we really are. And no matter how big my idea becomes of who I am, it's always more. There's always more to discover. Mary and Joseph, they followed the stars. They listened to the angels. They paid attention to their dreams, their intuitions, things that were being told to them from sources other than their conscious mind, their rational mind. And I think it's okay to do that, even when people think, you're crazy, you're not following the prescribed way of thinking around here. That's not realistic. But listen, if Mary didn't listen to the angels, we wouldn't have had Jesus. If Joseph didn't listen to the angels and his dreams and his intuitions, Herod would have killed him along with the other children. Joseph listened to the angel who came to him in a dream that said, don't be afraid to take Mary as your wife. He listened to the angel that said, take your family out of Bethlehem into Egypt. He listened to the angels when they said, take them back out of Egypt, back into your homeland. So the important thing for me is learning to listen to that guidance within me. Whether you call it intuition or angels or guidance I don't care. For a long time, I just held the hand of Jesus and let him lead me around. That was my image in my mind. And one day the image says, you don't need my hand anymore. Walk as me. Walk as the Christ. Stand up and be your own Christ. Well, that was too much for my mind, but my heart knew it was true. My heart knew that that's what I had to do. And the mind caught up through all the teachings of the Course in Miracles and Unity. My mind caught up with the fact that the Christ does dwell within me just like it dwelt in Jesus. Mary knew that that child was going to be a light in the darkness. They followed their spiritual guidance. It's an important part of the Christian tradition and the Christian story of Christmas is how they followed that guidance. And that's a great story that's told in many churches today. But what about your story? What's going on for you right here and right now that's bringing forth the Christ child into the world? Are you listening to the truth? Are you practicing the principles of truth in your life? Are you following divine guidance to receive your highest good and unleash your divine potential in the world? We all have a divine and important part to play in the evolution of human consciousness. And I want you to really understand that no matter who you are, you have a divine and important part to play in the evolution of human consciousness. And whatever you have to do to get into that, you turn this down just a touch, maybe on the gain, not the volume. If you can get that in your consciousness, that you have an important part to play in the awakening of the human consciousness, then you will do whatever it takes to get with the program. to really do it, to forgive, to practice the principles of truth, to practice prosperity, to let go each moment of your own necessity to try to control what's going on. It never worked. It only brought you pain to try to control what's going on here. It only brings pain. When you release yourself to God, you realize it's a loving universe. It's a loving God. It's a prosperous universe. It's an amazing discovery of all the miracles that are being given to me each day. I followed the guidance that brought me to this place. And yes, I prayed to the stars like a little child. When I was a little child, I used to utilize that children's rhyme, star bright, starlight, star bright, the first star I see tonight. Wish I may, wish I might. This is my wish tonight. This is what I used to say. And when I was a little kid, little boy, some of you all used to do that, right? So you'd wait, and the first star you see up in the sky at night, then you'd say, okay, this is what I want to happen. And from the moment I was, 8 years old, I started doing this. And so many years later, I won't tell you how many, I'm still doing it. And because it works. Why does it work? Because it's in my mind. My mind is the key factor in all of this. It's not the stars are giving me anything. It's my mind is like a little child again, saying, oh, it's possible. As soon as it's possible within your mind, then it happens. It just needs to be possible, a little inkling of possibility. So I remember when I was in Wisconsin, I lived in this little house all by myself, pretty far outside of town, no internet, no telephone. Had a little flip phone, my cell phone, but I turned it off most of the time. And I was pretty happy out there. And I was really deep into my spiritual path. I would travel around a lot, teach the Course in Miracles and the Bible, and do a lot of healing, a lot of praying, a lot of mowing of the grass. And I knew it was time for a relationship. So I walked outside, and the first star I saw was this bright star in the sky, and I'd say, oh, I can feel it. I'm going to have this amazing relationship. And so I would imagine what it would feel like. And I don't know, of course, here's the story again. I met Lily in Colombia, but she was still in Colombia. I was still in Wisconsin. So we were quite a distance apart for several months. And so I'd walk outside at night, and I'd imagine her living with me in my little house, and we were together, and I'd look up at that star, and I would just say thank you for this amazing, the most amazing relationship you could ever dream of is happening to me. It's coming my way. I can feel it. And I would feel it every night like it's already there. And pretty soon, there she was, living with me in Wisconsin. And a few months later, we had the most amazing wedding you could ever imagine, with hundreds of people in our beautiful healing sanctuary out there, all of our friends. And it was over the top. It was more than I could visualize. It was so great. It's way more than I could visualize. But I started it by feeling it. And when I look up into the sky at night, that was always the first thing I thought of when I saw that bright star in the sky. And so one day, Lily and I were walking from the healing center over to our little house, and I stopped and said, look at the sky. See that star in the sky? I said, I would pray every night for our relationship. And I would look up at that star and I'd pray. And she'd say, oh, that is so sweet, honey, but that's not a star, that's a planet. Probably Venus. So I don't care. I still pray on that star. I love it. And so that kind of is what I still do today. I saw it last night. There were no other stars in the sky except this one bright, brilliant star. And I know now it's a planet. But it didn't burst my bubble at all. It's actually closer to the earth than it ever has been. And it's so bright in the sky. And now I think of the most amazing ministry that anybody could ever dream of. The most amazing Unity Church is right here on Cape Cod. It has to be, because that's what's in my heart. And that's what's in my mind. And it's got to be a very, very special thing that's happening here. I'll tell you why. Because anybody can look up into the sky and pray on a star. But I pray on a planet. Probably Venus. Venus is the planet of love. I like that. The eternal love of God. I love it. So it does remind me, that the shepherds were following the star that Christmas night that led them to Jesus. And I think that's an important part of the story, because without people to acknowledge the Christ, then it's not really happening, is it? You have to recognize that in someone. And so, for me, I've spent a lot of time recognizing the Christ in others. And I realize there's always a deeper experience of that. And we need to open ourselves to that experience. We need to follow our guidance to wherever it leads us, to open that experience to everyone. And it does remind me of how the stars line up for certain events to occur at certain times in our lives. And it reminds me even more that bright shining star within, it has the power to bring into manifestation every good thing, not just for me, but for everyone in the human family. So yes, the sign of Christmas is a star. But I want to tell you, that star is you. Thank you very much. I love you.
You have been watching the message from our Sunday celebration service here at Unity on Cape Cod, providing a positive path for spiritual living. Please join us every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. at 147 Walton Ave, Hyannis, Mass. And visit us online at www.unityoncapecod.org.